Look around this province, and pretty much everywhere you go, you'll find James Douglas. In parks and street signs, in schools, and more schools.
I think almost every historian in British Columbia believes if there had been no James Douglas, there would be no British Columbia.
Jean Barman wrote the preeminent book on British Columbia, West Beyond the West. She's currently writing a book on Douglas's correspondence with Britain's colonial office in the years when the Hudson's Bay Company man was appointed the first governor of the mainland colony of British Columbia.
There's just 25 years between when the first non-Indigenous people, apart from some people in the fur trade, came into this territory and British Columbia was a province. It was essentially the colonial office in charge. They put their faith in Douglas.
We tell the story of Douglas the same way we tell the story of John A. Macdonald or George Washington, the founding figure of British Columbia. But just like Washington and Macdonald, the way we tell Douglas's story is beginning to change.
I see him as kind of a beachhead where his ship came to the shore and established kind of a placement of the colonial marker, which had a detrimental impact on Indigenous people.
Brandon Gabriel is a Kwantlen artist and former historical researcher with the Kwantlen First Nation, whose members lived in the area for centuries before Fort Langley and James Douglas's arrival.
Their presence as a colonizing force wasn't met with on agreeable terms. And so, to put it nicely,
the record is clear. Douglas did have a huge part in diminishing and displacing BC's Indigenous populations. But there are reasons why campaigns to diminish his legacy haven't been as large as other colonizing figures.
It was like, oh, by the way, James Douglas was mixed race and black. And I'm like, oh, I didn't really know that.
Langley councillor Nathan Bahal wants to remember Douglas with a new display in Douglas Park. Like Douglas, Bahal is half black, and at a time when statues to colonizers are being taken down, he thinks a plaque for Douglas can go up.
A plaque acknowledging history is a lot different than a statue as well. And so I really want people to understand the complex history of this province and to celebrate the positive attributes and also acknowledge the horrific things that happened as well. And I think we can do both.
Whether that's true or not will be seen in the next year. The city will consult with both Black Lives Matters groups and the Kwantlen First Nation on the plaque. And the framework of BC history has often been fraught for Indigenous people.
The telling of the story of the making of this country and this province is largely has been developed by the colonizing forces.
It's a tension at the heart of the story of Douglas. Half black, husband of a Cree woman, the dominant treaty maker and colonizer in BC history.
He did center Indigenous people almost all the way through his life, but you have to, it's how you tell the stories.
The story of Douglas is one we'll continue to retell, but how we tell it will say as much about us as it does him. Justin McElroy, CBC News, Fort Langley.